Charles Bukowski, the famous poet of the American gutter, once wrote that style is the answer to everything. But hold on, he wasn't talking about designer clothes or flashy cars. No, he was talking about something raw, a weapon for survival, a way of carrying yourself through the fire. He called it a manifesto of deliberate carriage, and we're about to break it all down.
And it all kicks off with this line, right? It's so blunt, so powerful. Style isn't some add-on, it's the core strategy. It doesn't matter what you're up against, whether it's soul-crushing boredom or, actual danger. It's about the way you approach it. And what he's doing here is basically splitting the world into two kinds of problems we all face.
Okay, so first up, you've got the dull stuff. The commute, the paperwork, the daily grind that just wants to wear you down into nothing. Without style, that's all it is. Drudgery. But if you bring what he calls style to the table, a deliberate, conscious choice in how you do it, that same boring thing suddenly becomes, well, at least preferable. You're basically injecting your own meaning into the meaningless.
And then, on the other side of the coin, you have the dangerous things, the real risks, the confrontations, the moments where everything's on the line. If you face that without style, you're a victim, you're just in peril. But to face it with style, to move with intention and grace when the pressure is on, Bukowski says that's not just about surviving, that's art.
Look, this wasn't some idea he dreamed up in an ivory tower. This philosophy was literally forged in the fire of a really, really brutal life. And to really get it, you've got to understand the man who lived it, the life that hammered this philosophy into shape. I mean, the sheer relentlessness of his life is just staggering. This wasn't just, a rough patch. It was a lifetime on the edge. From a horrific childhood with a violent father, to decades just drifting through dead-end jobs, to spending over a decade in the soul-crushing grind of the post office, and yeah, even doing time in jail. This philosophy wasn't a cool idea. It was a necessity. So here's the absolute key to this whole thing. When Bukowski says style, what he really means is deliberate carriage. And this has nothing to do with being polished or perfect. It's all internal. It's a stance you take inside. It's this defiant, totally intentional way of moving through life, especially when life is trying its best to crush you. It's basically an act of rebellion.
Okay, but how does this actually work? I mean, what's going on in your head when you decide to adopt this deliberate carriage? Well, it turns out this isn't just nice poetry. It's a really powerful psychological, even neurological hack.
So let's break down what happens in the brain. First, those blunt words in the poem, they hit you. They're a trigger. They connect with a part of you that just gets it. Then your brain starts to reframe things. That threat, that danger, it's not just something to run from anymore. It's a challenge, an opportunity for you to master it. Third, when you actually impose your will on that chaos, your brain's dopamine circuits light up. They reward you for it. And finally, your mind gets the message, hey, you have permission to carry this weight with grace. And this whole idea, it plugs right into some really deep, fundamental human needs. It answers that hidden desire we all have for dignity, especially when we feel degraded. It kind of wakes up that inner hero, the one Jung talked about, who keeps going no matter what. It gives our raw impulses a way to come out authentically. And it stares right into that primal fear of a meaningless life and answers it with elegant persistence. But here's the thing. Just when you think you've got a handle on it, that it's all about personal grit, Bukowski pulls the rug out from under you. There's this impossible twist in the poem that just reframes everything. It's not what it looks like at first. So what are we really looking at here? Is this just some kind of self-help mantra, a cool way to get through your day? Or is it something a whole lot more radical? This right here is the key to the whole puzzle. These are the most radical lines in the poem. He says he's found more real style, more of that authentic, deliberate carriage inside a jail cell than out in the free world. I mean, what on earth is he talking about? And that is the twist. The poem isn't just about celebrating personal style. It's a full-blown attack on the kind of society that makes real style so incredibly rare. What Bukowski's really saying is that our modern world, with all its pressure to conform, to perform, to fit in, it's designed to strip us of that real, authentic style. And so true style, he says, is forced to go into hiding, to survive only on the margins with the outcasts and the so-called failures. Think about it. Out here in the so-called free world, authenticity is just another thing to buy and sell, right? It's commodified. And real style, it often gets crushed by the need to conform. But when you're on the margins, when you're in jail or you failed completely, what's left to lose? Authenticity isn't a brand, it's a necessity. And that's where style flourishes, as a raw tool for survival and for dignity. And wow, does that make his message feel like it was written for today, or what? In our age of burnout culture, gig jobs, and lives that feel like they're being run by algorithms, this idea of style becomes a radical act of refusal. It's about refusing to let the system grind you down into this mediocre pulp. It's a quiet internal declaration of your own independence. So in the end, it all boils down to this one simple but incredibly profound statement. When you are staring down the barrel of the dull and the dangerous, when you feel the world just wearing you away, how you choose to carry yourself is everything. It's not just about what you do, it's about how you are. Like Bukowski said, style, that's the difference.